IT and business interaction from ERP MDM perspective. Hello everyone! Today I would like to share with you my own experience, and we're going to talk about interaction between IT and business overall. Very often in their work, companies use some strange schemes. I would like to talk to you about it from a fundamental perspective, from a computer science point of view. What should be done and how exactly it should be organized. The way it's written in the books, and what consequences structural mistakes can lead to. Briefly about myself. In Russia, I worked for the Skolkovo School of Management and the Atlanta Business Club. Looking worldwide, I was part of the EO Global. I've been in IT for now 26, almost 27 years. Today, I run my own IT software development company. We have been facing a lot of IT issues with our corporate clients, not only in Russia, but worldwide. Most companies make common mistakes. Ray O'Farrell once said that companies in England make almost 80% of common mistakes. Let's take a look at the history of IT. How did IT start? Those who are a bit older will certainly remember the weird IT geeks wearing glasses and beards, sitting in the basement or in a tiny room with no windows. In those days, business processes used to be very different. For example, you had logistics, accounting, and some other departments, but the IT system was completely apart. The IT system was used, for example, to record some transactions. Let's say an accountant did something and then recorded it. A manager handed out something and then recorded it, and so on. There wasn't such a concept, which we call today digitalization. What did such an organizational structure lead to? Over time, it has become clear that a computer is not such a bad tool at all. It can actually do lots of useful things. In the end, it led to mismatches in the organizational structure of the company. You had a huge IT department, kind of a mind map, and there were other departments which were much smaller organizationally and technically. Then you had the IT department coming up with these genius ideas. Next year, we will be turning the company into a microservice architecture. Or until today, we had everything coded in Python, and from now on, everything will be done in Golang. What about machine learning? How can we live without it? Machine learning and blockchain. If a technical director didn't implement any of these tools, then that would be the end of everything. What did this lead to? Let's look at an example of a monolith. All IT specialists are scared of monolith, yet they have no clue what it is. Let's figure it out. We have two different departments using one system, explicit or implicit. I'll talk about what is an implicit system a little later. One of the fundamental laws of engineering is the context. This concerns all fields of engineering. It doesn't matter if you work in a physics or an IT lab. And even the organizational structure doesn't matter. Context matters. What is context? In sales, for example, a client is a lead. In accounting, different entities are basically considered to be different clients. From the perspective of the production department, a client is a certain group. For example, there's a group of companies which can include different entities, all of which will follow the same rules. As soon as organizationally we start mixing several concepts, and you must have noticed that I haven't used any technical terms here, so when we start mixing several concepts, what will happen? The famous triangle model of responsibility, that's what will happen. Every head of department must have the necessary authority. They must have the knowledge, the control, and the responsibility. If the IT system is not mine, since the IT department is responsible for it, do I have the thorough and complete knowledge about it? No, I don't. How can I say that I don't need this guide or that button? What if other departments are using it? Should I be responsible for changes or failures? In theory, should the owners of the company be responsible? Some people will say, yes, sure, they're the bosses, they must be responsible. No, they're not. That's the point. There is no motivation and responsibility. Let's talk about MDM systems. They have been outdated for 30 years now, yet companies are still using them. For example, the sales department submits data. From a mathematical perspective, data is a 100% clear term. Therefore, your business processes must be responsible for the accuracy of this data. But if I have no control over the CRM system, can I be responsible for Joe Black and Mr. Black being the same client? No, I cannot. Because I'm not aware of this. The production department also submits data, and in the long run, we get low-quality data. And what do? Instead of separating this organizational monolith, we start implementing an MDM system. We just let it be responsible for all the failures of the organizational management. Then you have the IT department saying, we have no idea if Joe Black and Mr. Black are in fact the same client or not. So the IT department becomes responsible for these rules. They can just say, we're not aware of this. We didn't get any requests about this. Then the sales department will say the same. We don't know. The MDM system is responsible for it. Understand? This is an implicit connection, because the connection is not always clear. Sometimes it is implicit. Later I will talk about another explicit or implicit connection. Please take a look at this chart. There are certain boundaries in any system. Once you go beyond these boundaries, adding up any extra functionality or features, anything that you will add on to this will always cost you more and take longer. You want your structured system to be compact, but once you mix explicit or implicit systems, or even virtual systems, you will almost always go the wrong way. Eric Evans believes that there are no exceptions to this. Who am I to disagree with Evans? The red line is a certain boundary. Once you cross this line, any changes in the system become pointless. It's useless to talk about digitalization until organizational problems are not solved. It's a desperate try. Managers want to believe in magic. They want to use some cool software, such as SAP, or any other product which does need to be implemented to solve an organizational problem. But we all know that organizational problems can only be solved by an organizer and not by the developer. It's got to be obvious. If we look from a domain-driven point of view, which is also an engineering term, there can be a difference between the IT structure of an organization and the actual organization itself. Every time when your IT specialist suggests to implement a microservice architecture, you must think whether your department can become a microservice or not. And can your organization become a microservice? You must look at its organizational structure. If it's a monolith, no matter what kind of a microservice structure you implement, it will turn into a monolith. It might look like a microservice architecture, but the only result you will get is that you will enhance your developers' CVs. Sometimes you look into the IT system of a large corporation and you find, for example, 3 data lakes, 3 BIs, or something even worse. So what must it look like? The key word is must. It's Hubbard's organizational structure, so IT must be. We were just talking about security, about the center of expertise, and so on. But all this is possible only when the cost and revenue centers are concentrated in the same department, and when, from the business perspective, there is somebody who is responsible for it, and who has all the necessary authority to make a decision. In fact, you can choose anyone, but then you shouldn't forget about your IT department. Try not to choose the IT department after that. Obviously, if you choose somebody else and the person fails, you will hear about it. Colleagues will judge your choice. They will remind you that you should have chosen someone else. They will tell you that you should have chosen those IT guys and that you made a mistake because you didn't listen to their important advice. So all this is possible only when it really looks this way, and can, with some minor assumptions, lead to a successful digital transformation. But what do we often see? That it doesn't work that way. There can be many reasons for that, and I will talk about one right now, as we're mostly talking about IT in business. From a business perspective, most of the time the following happens. The integration between the system looks like that, point to point. The books clearly say point-to-point integration cannot be done. You just can't do it. There are no buts, there are no exceptions, but we still continue doing point-to-point integrations. So imagine, for example, a logistics system in an online store. This system which I'm talking about dates back to the 80s and hasn't been changed since. This particular business doesn't need any changes, and it's logical. Well, that's fine, but throughout the years, the online store has been accumulating crooked integrations through files or through something else, and now we have to change the engine of the online store. So why doesn't the commercial director want to change the engine of the online store? What do you think? Well, he's probably against digital transformation, and he realizes that he will need to find a person who has experience in logistics and who will actually know what needs to be done. All streams will need to be checked, everything. Understand? And that's why many business owners and top managers believe in magic. They think that creating a separate IT department will solve all of their problems. We will contract agile coaches. Yes, agile is the way to go. This also leads to a monolith. Only an integration bus can theoretically provide such a system. Theoretically. So basically, what do we see? An enterprise has a bus, but it's still a monolith. How did that happen? The developer was just bored. I'll give you an example from my own company. When we called the developers to the head office and asked them, why did they create 1,000 lines in the connector? Why did you do it? We were bored. It's not cool anymore to configure in low code. Hey man, if you still haven't done machine learning today in 2022, you can consider your life wasted. You're not an IT specialist. And only when it's done correctly, so that technically there are no restrictions, no organizational restrictions, only then, in theory, you can demand from the head of sales, from HR department, and from other business units some changes. And only when they really start doing some blocks themselves, then it might be possible to step up to the next level, where the IT director becomes a mentor. It can be a coach or an auditor. It's the guy who comes in and says, I'm not here to interfere with your changes, but let's see how you have done it. Did you do it right or wrong? That is the center of competence, if we say it in the language of the old man Hubbard. Any questions? Is there still time for questions? You said that it is effective for every department and for every functional customer to create some kind of a subdivision or a branch or a department or something like that. Don't you think that it will be more effective if the functional customer hires experienced IT task managers who will adequately set these tasks, and therefore IT will be implementing them? Because if there'll be IT specialists in every circle that you've drawn, it will lead to some kind of a mess in the decisions, and there won't be a common IT policy. That's my question. I understand. So you're talking about a common IT policy. What are politics in general from the management point of view, or from the point of view of fundamental principles, from Fitzgerald's or Hubbard's point of view? What are politics? Do we want to preserve a decision? No, we don't. We need to set the rules for every department, just like traffic rules. Do we want to tell each driver where to go? For example, you, in the green car, you must go there. No, we don't want to do that. We only want to say that you can drive through a red light. Crossing a double line is not allowed. That is the purpose of your IT department. A common IT department is the auditor of IT decisions. It's someone who can recommend, who can say, listen, why are you using this? We have this. If you want, we've already settled the security issue, for example. We already have some video instructions. Would you like to check them out? But if the HR doesn't want your recommendations, you need to accept it. Just like the police officer is not entitled to advise you where to go, but he can tell you that you can't drive through a red light. Thank you.